Alright, so I'm going to do a series of videos on sketching, how to use sketching techniques to improve your art. Some of them will be practice techniques to develop muscle memory and to train your own memory to enrich your visual vocabulary, to put basically images in your mind that you can draw from later for artwork. It's kind of like visual note-taking in your sketchbook, and then gradually those ideas will stay in your imagination and you can remember them better having drawn them. The other thing is going to be taking a sketch and then developing it into an idea. How do you use sketches to brainstorm for artwork and do basically the rough draft of a different drawing? The first one is going to be something I found on Tumblr, and I've never actually tried it, so I'm going to see if this snake in a basket idea will actually improve your muscle memory. That's what it's supposed to do, so we'll see. So this first one is one that you can do if you're stuck for ideas. It's called Snake in a Basket. And what it is whenever you're in between drawings or you just want to practice some skills, just draw any snake in any kind of basket. So if you picture like the typical like cobra that like a snake charmer would make come out of the basket, so you can do this kind of snake, and they kind of have like the stripy scales coming down. And those baskets are kind of like this shape. And then you can practice all sorts of textures on your baskets. So I'm just going to add a little bit of basket weave design on here. Just kind of simple, like every other, almost like I'm drawing bricks. It's the same kind of idea. So that's the idea of snake in a basket. If you get stuck, you're brainstorming, your hand just needs something to do. Maybe you're bored and you want to doodle something. And the reason why this was developed, here's a close-up view of my cobra. The reason why this was developed was because there's a ton of different art practice books, and they have you do things like draw a bunch of similar curves this way, draw a bunch of curves this way, draw a repeating pattern, and it's to develop muscle memory. It's to develop control and speed for these things. But instead of drawing just a random pattern, you can put the pattern on a thing, on a basket, and a snake in a basket automatically has every single curve that you're going to practice just in each drawing. So you can doodle these if you need to develop muscle memory for these curves. And eventually the idea is to get your lines smoother and your curves smoother without you having to spend as much effort on those. I'm going to draw one that's like a wider basket with a snake rolled up in it. So my basket's going to be like a conical basket. And you can see as I'm doing this, I'm drawing curves that come and point towards my hand. I'm drawing curves that point away from my hand. I'm going to draw the snake's coils, so those are going to give me even more kinds of curves. So just by drawing something kind of simple and funny, you can do that. I'm going to make this one like a boa constrictor because they have those little cute noses. They just always look very friendly. And I'm going to make his tail coming out this side. And you can also practice pattern and texture with this, right? Like boas have those big wide spots. So you can really get detailed or not. So there's the boa constrictor in a basket. And again, I practice lots of different kinds of curves. I'm going to draw a bunch of different variations of this, and then I'll show them at the end. Okay, so here's all the snakes and baskets that I ended up drawing. Surprisingly, I think the hardest part was just coming up with different ones to do. Like you hear draw a snake in a basket and it seems like, you know, one thing, but as I was going, I came up with different kinds of baskets. So I started with my little cobra, and again, it uses all these different curves and small, tiny curves even for the basket, repeated curves. Keeping the basket lines evenly spaced was another challenging part of this, and it's one that I think I actually did get better at as I went. This guy, then I drew this little guy with his head just poking out. Focus. And I decided on him that I was going to pretend like there was a light shining from this way. So where this part of the basket is brighter and there's not actually a texture really on it, I used the basket texture to give shading instead of coloring it gray. And I put a little shadow under his chin where the basket weave was there. So just by thinking about this and really focusing on something simple, it actually kind of made my mind go to other art things that I already knew, like shading. Then I started thinking of other kinds of baskets, and I looked around, and I keep my video game controllers in a square basket from Michael's. So I had the snake peeking out of the handle, and those baskets have wide, flat straw, and then they're tied together with these little thin up and down straws. So there's a whole different kind of basket weave that I did. And then the inside, I did shade, and I put the snake coils like all rolled up in there. Again, other art concepts that tie in was a little bit of perspective to make it like a square. And then I did a pattern on this basket to match the rattlesnake pattern. So he's in like a decorated basket that's made of different colors of straw. And again, I did the weave texture more on the bottom part where the shadows are, not as much on the top. And the lines they're a little bit more evenly spaced than that first basket was. And then this was the last guy that I drew. It's like a big like python or an anaconda, and he doesn't fit in there. He tried. He put his tail in, and then he just decided, I'll take a nap instead. This basket I think turned out the best. It's the most even lines and the texture and shading. I tried to really make it look like a round basket with some like volume to it, and I think that worked. And I definitely can say that this does what it's meant to do. I never tried it before, but from this snake in a basket down to this one, this is the last one I did, I can already tell that my curves are smoother, especially on top of the snake and on the corners of it where it's kind of like wrinkled up because it's like a big fat snake. I think it works. So if you ever are just bored or you're stuck for an idea and you're drawing in your sketchbook, just draw some snakes in baskets. It actually does work. So those art books that recommend doing this instead of this are definitely onto something. It's a really easy, kind of fun and relaxing way to practice your art skills without just random drawing.